Hello everyone, and welcome to another HORRORific review. Right, this was an interesting one. Still not 100% sure how I feel. I don't think it was... No, it wasn't terrible. It was decent. We'll put it like that. Bit of a slow burner. So if you're expecting like gripping tension from the start, nah, it takes a minute getting there. So we're talking about Leave, 2022, directed by Alex Herron. Apparently it was his debut outing as a director, so fair play. Yeah, so the premise of the story is you have a young woman tries to find her origin. Sorry, I'll read out instead of me trying to cover it, let's read out the show notes. That would help. A young woman tries to find her origins after being abandoned as an infant at a cemetery, wrapped in a cloth with satanic symbols. Ooh. But as she gets closer to the answers, a malevolent spirit is telling her to leave. Right. So we'll start off with a scene, the abandoning and the cemetery thing. Yeah, it was all right. I didn't get the impression, from the title and from the opening scene, I was getting the impression somebody hiding a baby from a satanic cult and they were going to come back to get her. That's honestly what I thought. Turned out not to be that at all. But yeah, we have this baby. We start off the emergency services call, and left the baby, blah 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 blah. You know, police officer arrives, picks up the baby, and then we'll cut to a scene in the bushes, almost like a werewolf type, you know, all that kind of stuff. Which you kind of thought, what the hell? So the opening scene kind of leads you open to thinking, right, so is this baby a plant? Is it a werewolf baby? Is it a monster baby that's been left? Almost like what do you call them? Not doppelgangers. Bloody hell! Myths and legends. They replace the parent's own baby. I'm gonna have to look that up. Let's say that's a good start, isn't it? Creature that replaces fish tongue? Nah. Babies. As we've talked about before, changelings. Flip's sake. We've talked about changelings before. So you're thinking, is it going along those? It's not a werewolf. It's just a cuddly furry dog. Only if you roll under your sanity and your intelligence. Then you don't know what it is, and then you're okay. However, if you take out the full horror of what it is, then you're stuffed. Just put it out there. Just prepping you for Tuesday. But yeah, they have this whole setup. Find the baby. This police officer turns up and he picks it up and puts her in the car. We'll cut that scene, and then it forwards like 20 years or something, and you've got this wee girl getting ready to go to college. This had to be the weirdest scene of someone leaving home to go to college for good. The blasé attitude of the dad. So it turns out that the police officer that picked her up adopted her, because that's what you do. You find a baby in the street and you just adopt it. There's no process to go through or anything else. Like, finders keepers, mine. Yeah, okay. You behave yourself. Yeah, this is why I'm saying it's a slow burner. This takes ages to get into. Once it does get into the movie, it turns out to be quite decent. Think Girl with Dragon Tattoo, but the protagonist isn't as good as Lisbeth Salander. Or what would be another good? No, I think that's the closest thing I can compare this to. It's not quite Sixth Sense because we see the wee girl Hunter her name is, and she is it Hunter? No, Cecilia. Sorry, it's a weird. I mean, because she's uh, a dippy college student type thing. Thinks she's a girl boss, and then she finds something in the drawer. Apparently, her mother died of cancer, and before she died, she gave her this satanic blanket, which is actually a band flipping shirt flag thing. So that kind of goes out the window straight away. You see it's from a band. End of story. That's that plot line just obliterated. And then she has this inverted cross, which, oh god, that was the same. That's the bit that made me laugh when the cop opens up the blanket and he's like, oh my god, because she's got a necklace on. And it's not even like it's an upside down cross, and it's not even, as we find out later, it's not even an upside down cross, it's something else. But yeah, it's like dun dun dun. Talk about overreacting to the heavy metal scene. That's what this movie's about. It's just overreacting to flipping rock music. Satanic Panic, anyone? Yeah, let's go back there because that was fun. I think that's the theme of this, the underlying themes. They're trying to poke at fundamental Christians, which fair enough. Each side has their own lunatics. The right side have the fundamental Christians. The left side have the woke idiots. You know what I mean? Both sides have their lunatics. They're useful for keeping balance because it's like, go too far, that's where we end up. You know, and both sides can do that. At least. It's just when you see one side getting a wee bit too much control, you're like, whoa! Back to the center where it's fun. And that's all across the board. You know, if you're a flipping, doesn't matter what you believe in, if you're an ideological idiot, that's where you get movies like this where people are like, oh, it's a symbol, I'm going to lose my soul because your face that weak that a necklace, somebody wearing a necklace and a heavy metal blanket, that's all it takes to shake your faith. That's it. What can I say? You know, all your spiritual divine power and your inner strength just evaporates at a little pewter necklace. But back to the plot. Yeah, when she touches this thing, then she starts having dreams, and this apparition comes towards her, all black shadows, like all that kind of stuff. And then we'll go to that scene, like I said, where she's heading off to college, and Dad's just like, you leaving it? You've got a long drive. You know, just looking up the stairs. Yeah, and the most stale, like heading off. Yeah, okay. It must be just get the wooden acting out of the way at the start, and just get the plot underway. That's all I can say about it. Yeah, she's like, blah 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 blah. That's words happening. I kind of zoned out a wee bit at that scene, and I was thinking to myself, "Oh my god, is it going to be one of these crap slow movies that actually is going to be?" Because we have had two jump scares already over nothing. So I'm thinking, "Oh god, is it going to be one of these?" Flipping just nothing jump scare, snore to the end sort of thing. I used to fast forward a lot of those movies. I was just like, nah, come on, just I'm fed up with the plot. I can't be bothered going through 40 minutes of nothings and jump scares while they laboriously screech their way towards the end of the plot. Thankfully, this isn't like that. Like I said, it starts off and then she's driving, and he must be a bent cop. The reason I'm saying this is because she's got a passport, and as we know, most Americans don't have that. That's like only for the select few. By the way, I'm not saying Americans get passports. Just you stay where you are. You're okay there. You stay over there. Just nice and contained. Yeah, we get the slightly smarter ones come over, and some of them are idiots too. You know, it's okay. Just don't bother about. But she has a passport, so that means she's travelled. And then, like I think he's retired anyway, but she's able to drive to an airport and pay for airport parking on her allowance. That's all I'm saying. So if that's her allowance and she's able to go flipping, you have to take out a second mortgage to pick someone up at the bloody airport, the prices they charge. So what this plotline is, instead of going to college, she's going to sneak off to Norway. So she's went and bought herself a ticket to Norway. Just packs up her cards if she's going to college, and then because there's no airports near her college, apparently, I don't think, because it wouldn't make sense for her to go to the halls of residence, park up there where it's free, then go to the nearest airport from there. No, because the already said she has an 8-hour drive. Who am I? Who am I to question such things? But yeah, the fact that she's able to go pay for airport parking, then take herself to Norway. And then we'll find out that she's got a poster of a band whose symbols were on the blanket she was given, the satanic blanket. But even the friggin' premise of this is the most misleading. A cloth with satanic symbols. Friggin' more offensive than a flipping hoodie. But you see where it's trying to go, I think. Yeah, she hooks herself off, so she's going over there for however long. For even a week. Or what are you talking? You're talking 60, 70 quid a day at least. Let's see. Now I have to look this up now. Let's give an example. Get off caps up. I'm checking at the internet. Right, heathrowparking.com. Doesn't give you parking from, so let's go from this Friday to the 31st. That's for like a day, 168.99 for like 2 days. Just saying, that's where I've lost, little detail. It might seem silly, but in storytelling, little details that got matter. You can't tell a fantastical story if you don't have the grounding right. And that includes, this is a lot of fantasy shows get this wrong. I'll include Game of Thrones, for example, their final seasons. When they talk about the length of time it takes from get the A to B, and they try and factor that into the plot, it just doesn't make sense. What else? The other... Yeah, well, you put yourself on as baggage as well. You're allowed a couple of 100 kilos of baggage weight, so just put yourself on as extra baggage. Job done. But yeah, little details matter, because when you're already scratching your head at the plot before it begins, how are you going to believe the fantastical stuff? How, when they bring in the supernatural, are you going to be able to just suspend disbelief? Because I think, especially first time, people coming into horror for the first time, or I've talked about this before, a lot of directors, filmmakers think starting off on horror is the easy way to bang out a movie till they make their real movie. I.e., people who aren't invested in the genre. And that's why you have so much shite, because they just say, oh, we'll just make a horror movie, and then at least I've got something in film, and then I can show it, and then I can show my directorial brilliance and then I'll get my squillions of dollars and pounds and pesos when I go to Hollywood. And you're like, nah, doesn't work like that. That's why most of them fall by the wayside. You have to actually have an investment in storytelling. I would say, especially in horror, to be invested in storytelling is paramount. You have to have that primary focus and appreciation for stories and how stories work. If you don't, you're going to fail. You're going to fall flat in your face because already, like 9 times out of 10, one of these movies, when it gets like this, I've already switched off. It's just that I decided to watch it for the do the review. But yeah, when she does that, she's able to just buy tickets willy nilly. Yeah, because even the universities now would send a letter. Like, if you're expected at a certain time and you haven't done it, like, normally there'll be a text or they'll contact parents, because it's still a school, even though they're young adults. It's still a school environment. And if a student doesn't turn up, they're going to try and find out. So it's a bit daft. But I suppose it's good in a sense because it sort of portrays her character. She's not a superstar. She's not a girl boss. She's an ordinary kid who's basically trying to find out who her mother was because she only found this information out. Her, adopted mother only passed away like the previous year before she was due to start college. And she basically hid it from her adopted father because she doesn't want to hurt his feelings. So it's not thankfully, we see love there and we see that she has had a decent upbringing. So that's fair enough. You would think with her adopted father being a police officer, he'd try and drill in a wee bit of street smarts there because this girl doesn't. She's actually quite ditzy. And that becomes obvious later on in the plot. So she goes to the doorway and we kind of start then finding out because she has the necklace in a little bag, a little Ziploc bag, and she takes it out, puts it on, and she's got the blanket with her and she's got a poster, and then she's done a wee bit of searching about things on the internet. So she's going to this particular area. She booked the hotel and she couldn't work out the time difference. So she arrived a day late. Now, this is why I think he's a bad cop. It's a lavish 5-star hotel, right? That you can even tell from the reception. Because I've stayed in some nice hotels and I've stayed in some scuzzy ones. And you can always tell from the reception what you're kind of in for. And this is like real old school polished oak, bellboy in proper uniform, sort of affair. And yeah. And then it's like, yeah, you're a day late, so it cancel, booked your room, but let me see what I can do. And then she ends up in like the master suite, almost like penthouse flipping, adjoining living room and flipping on a student on a flipping police officer's salary, pension salary, and it's only an allowance. She's not earning any of her own money unless she's saved up for ages. So she's staying in the lap of luxury in the hotel. And then we get the second visitation of the Oogie Boogie ghost, which once again another jump scare, and I'm like, oh god, it's going to be like this. But I hung in. So she's got this poster for a band. She goes down to a bar, and she's watching, which is funny because you kind of cut to the sort of end of the singing, and it's so melodic, and then it cuts to the jukebox when they step off the stage. It's like, and you're like, okay, that obviously these people don't understand metal or anything, and like there's about 3 people in the bar, which usually if it's a metal club and there's bands playing, places usually packed. unless it's like a weeknight or something. But even then, there's always, I mean, even small bands have a following of friends, and usually that's what they try and do. Bands, if they're starting out, try and get all their friends in, so that the bar will book them again. If that makes sense, because even if you get 20 people in on a slow night and everyone buys a drink each, it's worthwhile for the bar to hire the band in. That's kind of how it works. So, yeah, it just doesn't. From the imagery they try at the start and the poster, the actual band itself don't fit that at all. It was weird, and that's why I'm saying we've got a director here, I think, that doesn't understand horror, doesn't understand the metal scene, and is just using tropes, and that's very lazy. I think that's what kind of bugs me a bit. Yeah, or when the person talks about mother always watching, mother can't come. That's usually an indication too that, like, get out of here. Or usually when you have to wipe your feet on the way out, that's a sign of a bad hotel. I'm more worried about cockroaches and stuff than psycho killers. What they want to do is come out with fucking bed bugs and scratching because of some fucking dive of a hotel. It doesn't. Always look at the neighborhood too. Like, if the neighborhood looks like you're going to get mugged the minute you step outside, maybe book our hotel. Yeah, it's traveling's fun. I've done a wee bit in my time. Yeah, traveling and places is just it's interesting. But yeah, she's done in the lap of luxury, and it's just funny because this person doesn't have a clue. And like I said, when we go to the rock bar, and what she's doing, she's kind of giving the googly eyes to the singer, making it really obvious. And then when the singer actually comes up to the bar, sets her bottle down, speaks to her briefly, are you looking for someone? She's like, oh, no, 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 no. And then she swipes the bottle, which instantly I'm thinking DNA test. That's the only reason to do it, because she's got this whole thing about the newspaper clipping as well of her being abandoned. Her mother told her the satanic blanket. I can't help laughing at that. Fucking funny. Satanic blanket. Friggin' band flag, you numpties. But yeah, she sneaks off and somebody goes to follow her, and they try to make it a whole thing, and you just know she's the one being the weirdo. And she's the one being the weirdo. So of course she's going to get followed. Like, what the hell is this one up to? Don't like this. And then of course it turns out the singer has like a crazy stalker, and they thought that was her. But what was it? I can't even remember how they met up again, if I'm honest. Because she's in a hotel room, sorry, her hotel suite, and she's doing the swab and stuff, and it's like, okay, that knew that wasn't really a surprise. And yeah, she bumps into her again somehow, and I can't remember how, but anyway, she meets up with her and says, "Oh, I think you're my mother," or I think you're my mother, sort of thing. And she shows her the stuff, and it turns out it was a groupie who was a bass player. Yeah, there's your mistake as well. Nobody shags a bass player, so the fact that falling off the bass player kind of there's a combat indicator that this guy has no idea about the metal scene. No one chases the bass player. The pecking order: singer, lead guitarist, rhythm guitarist, drummer, bass player. That's kind of the way it goes, and it's hard to get out of that hierarchy. You have to be totally amazing in your field to get out. But if you're an amazing bass player, 9 times out of 10 you've got like an amazing guitarist, an amazing drummer, and amazing singer. The only person I can think that falls out of that category is Les Claypool, because he does vocals as well, and Lemmy Kilminster. But generally, nobody touches the bass player. It's just the law. I didn't make it. Don't blame me. Don't hate the player, just the game. But yeah. So it turns out that her father is in a psychiatric ward because he burned her mother alive because her mother killed her. Yeah, and you're kind of like, huh? Yeah, that was a whole weird thing. So she now finds out her father's still alive in the psychiatric ward, and she's got a whole family, sort of thing. So she gets details. She goes to visit the father. Now, this wee girl has no plan. And I think actually it's a good thing, because I think we're all bored of girl bosses. You know, these wee flipping 5 foot nothing, 20 something year olds who can take down grown adults with intent, well, being a wee flaky, airy, furry thing. I think we're bored of those. So the fact that she's going in to a psychiatric ward, you know, as a visitor, and it turns out he's done his time and he's in this facility. They weren't very clear about it, but yeah, he decides to go and visit her. She pretends she's a student. And he going, you're not going to ask about that other stuff. She's did this whole thing about, oh, I want to talk about the effects of music, the type of music you play. Once again, obvious this numpty of a director has no clue. But yeah, then she immediately launches into it. And then he gets upset. And then he sees her necklace. He's like, who are you? Blah, blah, blah. All that kind of stuff. Like I said, it's only starting to pick up at this point. But it's still slow as hell. It's only when then she goes back to the singer of the band and she gives a detail of the family, and she goes to visit the family of her mother, that the pace of the movie and the movie starts to get more interesting. Because then you're taken to a secluded island, you know, you have to get a ferry across. You go, boy. I'll buy your Blu-ray when it comes out. Let me know. Let me know how it works out. But yeah, that's when she goes across to the island. She meets the rest of the family, and then we start getting the atmosphere, and a proper horror movie starts to happen. It's very, like I said, it's very atmospheric in terms of the girl with the dragon tattoo. So if you've seen that movie and the setting, it's very similar. And you know instantly there's something off. You meet it's her aunt and her uncle and her cousin, and instantly you know the cousin's a serial killer. He doesn't actually do it in this movie, but you just know he's just instantly creepy character. Talk about a case of overacting, I think. Like anyone within 2 seconds of meeting this guy goes, yeah, I'm staying away from you. But she still acts as if, you know, he's okay. And even at the table, he's like being super aggressive, and you're like, where the hell's all this come from? As if a threat. So yeah, it's weird. But when they're sitting and she sits and they're saying grace and it's all this, do you take the Lord Jesus into your heart type stuff? In Norwegian, of course, I can't do a Norwegian accent, so I'm not going to even try. Wouldn't embarrassing them by doing it. But yeah, instantly, you know, oh, right, okay, these guys are a bit full on. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're a fundamental, if you're like a zealot, and like I said, it doesn't matter whether it's Christianity or wokeism, because they're the two like spectrums, or you know, any sort of like Islam's just as bad, but you know, anything where you're just blinkered and self-belief, or and anybody that challenges your worldview is evil and an enemy. Yeah, you're not a nice person to be around. And if the first thing you do in meeting somebody is instantly, what are your beliefs? Do you believe like me? I can only be your family or friend if you believe exactly as I do. Yeah, that's very disturbing and off-putting. So you get a bit of that, and then you get the cousin, like I said, just being creepy as hell. Then she kind of goes. It's funny how she just kind of walks about on her own as well, and nobody like goes with her to introduce her to the grandfather and stuff. She turns up, and she meets the grandfather. He seemed all right. At first, he seemed genuinely happy to see her, and brought her into the home and stuff, and talked about. And then it goes weird. We get another ghost popping up, the same ghost again popping up, going. Whoa. She has a couple of night frights as well. Just throw it into the mix. What else? Yeah, this is where we start to unravel. She's trying to find her mother's diary now. She finds hey diary, and she goes through the motions of reading it now. Obviously, the girl's written in Norwegian, and she's acting as if she can read it. And it's like, dude, no, stop. Because this is her girlhood diary, so she's not going to write it in English for the sake of the plot. Just, and then she makes a whole thing about trying to get the diary, the grandfather's. Says no. Then she sneaks back to steal it. The cousin brings her back in the car. Like she gets into the car alone with the cousin. Because yeah, that's smart. Like this guy's like he's overacting his part. Let's just put it like that. Yeah, then she falls out, gets caught, falls out with the grandfather. Yeah, because the ghost scares her and she falls down the stairs, so she gets caught. And that's kind of meandered about a bit. It's not until she leaves. So she leaves that family, goes back with the because she sneaks in later on. Does that happen then? Yeah. She sneaks back in then to get the diary with the creepy cousin. The creepy cousin then all of a sudden, you're mine, everything here is mine, and acts like a psycho and tries to have his way with her, You're like, dude, like we saw that coming a mile off, for the minute you first meet him, 2 seconds. I think it would have been better if it had been a shock. If you had a flipped, like a proper psychopath would be like completely amiable until the last minute. But this dude's just acting, if you didn't try to, I have to watch what I say on YouTube because certain words are like, oh, freaking idiots. Because you have some dipshit in Southern California with a backwards baseball cap going, oh, the hurty words, ah. And even though I'm only talking about a movie, I'm not condoning anything, but there you go. That's fucking YouTube for you and social media in general. Yeah, so he tries that. She bops him in the head with a frying pan. Goes back to the girl singer, and she's sitting in the hotel room trying to read a book in Norwegian. And then she gives it, can you translate this? It's like, what? When you weren't going to be able to read it, what's the whole point of 2 whole scenes of her sitting doing this? As if she's completely mesmerized. You're like, what are you doing, man? That's what I'm saying. The little things, it's the little things matter in a movie. If you're trying to make atmospheric scenes, make them make sense. Why did she decide to go back again? So she finds out she hasn't killed this bloke. He's okay, he's in the hospital. But then she decides she has to go back to the house for some reason. Oh, yes, that wasn't her mother's diary. That was someone else's diary. It was her aunt's diary, I think. So she goes back to the house now, back to the island. So she's travelled all the way out. Which is back in the fancy hotel. So it's almost like she kept her booking. So she's been staying in another house while keeping the booking. Her car's in the friggin' airport parking back in America. Her flipping dad cop's bent as hell. There's no way, he's been on the take. No doubt about it. You don't have that sort of money just flapping about the place. I know I'm just joking because of the stupidity of the plot, but you would have to wonder for the mechanics of this. Yeah, she goes back, and then she knows instantly where to go. And then she finds all the secret spaces, and then there's like a flipping secret room all padded with mattresses in the wall, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go in there. But she does. And it turns out it's her mother. Is actually chained to a bed. Why? Don't know. Just, yeah. Then the grandfather starts to fight with her. He bops her over the head, knocks her out. No, she knocks him out, jumps on his back. Her and the mother help. She thinks she's choked him out. Then she gets bopped in the head, knocked out. Because that's a good thing. That's it. The girl boss thing, she's just a wee kid who's done, hardly trained, hasn't trained or anything. So if you're dealing against someone who's actually violent and capable of violence, you're not going to end well. So Alicia loses because it makes sense. If she had been doing like spinny, flippy backflips and kicks and stuff and knocking her way around the place, it would have been just stupid. Yeah, then she's tied to a chair and she's told that she's sinful and stuff and all this weird stuff. Now, there's a scene where he's got a poker in the fire. And he says he's going to cleanse her. Where he puts the poker or where he brands her with, I have no idea. It's hinted where he's putting it, but A, she's fully clothed, and B, after it's done, she manages to escape and basically just shrug it off. Just, yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, they're cleansing her of sin because her mother had sinful ways, and then it turns out that it wasn't her mother who was killed, it was her aunt. This is where I'm sort of scratching my head at this story, because her mother didn't want to bring her back because she was a girl. And then they swap the dental thing. So they take out a couple of her mother's teeth and put it in their sister's teeth or mouth, and then burn her alive in the church. And then they frame the dad. So it turns out the dad didn't actually kill her. It was the grandfather and the uncle. Why, I couldn't figure out. Yeah, they kind of left that bit of the plot. I watched it and kind of scratching my head going, what the hell's happening here? So the apparition that's been haunting her whole time has been her aunt. And her aunt's connected to the necklace, which is a wolf pendant, not an upside down cross. It's a Celtic symbol, but it looks like that. Yada, yada, yada. Then we have the escape scene. The father appears. He obviously leaves or escapes from the institution, comes to help them. He gets killed. He knocks out the grandfather. And then they find the keys and escape. Her and the mother escape. I can't figure out who arrived in the car. Somebody else arrives in a car, and I don't know who it is. And it goes all misty and stuff. And then the grandfather appears again, goes to bring her back. Then she calls him a card, gives him the necklace, and the apparition appears to him. How did he get killed? She stabbed him? I think he gets killed anyway. Can't remember. It gets a bit weird. So you have this moment of tension and a story building up. Then the actual payoff makes no sense now that I'm thinking about it. Just that they're cleansing and blah blah blah, sinful and throwing these words about, but they make no sense. The fact that didn't want to bring her back, she was a girl, made no sense. It was never explained. If it had been a cult, for example, there had been rules of the cult, and if it had been the prophesized one, if she came back, she was going to be their ruin, it would have made sense. But none of that gets revealed at all. Just the fact that she has a daughter, she voluntarily leaves the door and returns to Norway to face her fate. Her sister gets murdered and she gets imprisoned. They frame the father. You kind of see that, but at the same time, it doesn't make no sense, because if she was afraid for her family, she would have told the boyfriend and they would have had a plan. Like, it's not like they're a far-reaching cult, right? They're just in an isolated part, so all have to do is move. Like, all she had to do to get out of danger was to move off that island. Once you cross that ferry off the island, their little bubble, they don't travel anywhere or do anything. So that made no sense. I'm not really evaluating. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but I think I enjoyed the sort of middle part where the plot was starting to come together. Now that I think about it, it just unravels. It starts off slow and weird, and then ends slow and weird, and you don't really get a payoff, except that she escapes with her mother. Her mother ends up in the hospital. The father comes over, finds her, huggy kissy, blah blah blah, happily ever after. The end, and that's it. Yeah, I've actually confused myself now. Now I'm thinking about this movie. I only watched it like half an hour ago. Yeah. So, suppose in conclusion, give it a go. Yeah, give it a go and let me know in the comments what your take on the plot was. I don't know myself if it's worth a second watch. Like, it's not one I've got a hankering to go and watch again. I might go and watch it again, but I might watch the last bit. So fast forward all the drivel until the scene where she gets attacked. It is a mixed review. I'm conflicted. I genuinely don't know whether I enjoyed this or not. I didn't hate it. Let's put it like that. Once I got over, like, there was a chance I was going to switch off because it seemed to be going nowhere. When she moved and knew something up with the family, I was intrigued to find out where it went, if that makes sense, and why she would go to such lengths to hide her baby, and why she would return when she was out of the country. So if this was somebody looking to escape an abusive family or a cult-like setting, why would you go back? And why did they kill the sister? And why was having a girl a problem? Because there's women in the family and there's men in the family. Yada yada. You know what I mean? It doesn't add up. Yeah. I don't know. Kind of feel a bit flat, if I'm honest. Now that I think about the sort of ending there, just like, it didn't go anywhere. She rescues her own mother, but no answers. You didn't get any answers for what happened. I know sometimes the mystery is good, but when this here, when it's actually spelled out and it's humans, the ghost is explained. You know, the ghost is connected through the necklace, and she's warning her niece to stay away. That makes sense. So it wasn't really a malevolent spirit. I didn't get the impression of a malevolent spirit anyway. I know they did the jump scares and stuff, but it didn't get that feeling of, you know, out to cause harm. So it was interesting to see how that all transpired or what the thinking was, but you didn't get it. It was all jumbled. It might seem weird, but I want to know where they stuck the poker, because she just walked that off like it was nothing. And they were hinting that it went somewhere intimate. And there wasn't any scorch marks. She was still fully clothed. So, yeah. And what was the point of it? Yeah. Yeah, I won't be in a rush, but it'd be interesting to know. Yeah, if you watch this movie let me know what you thought of it and what your takeaway was in terms of the plot. Am I being overcritical? Am I being unfair as to my disappointment with it? Because there was a premise there. I think that's what it is. There's a premise there of a good story. Yeah, now that I think about it, there was a bones of a good story there, and it just didn't happen. And they've more than enough time to do it. And like I said, if they had sorted out the simple stuff, you'd have been more invested. Oh well, there you go. We'll leave it there. All right, so there you go. There's my review. I'll stop waffling on because I'm going to be scratching my head for about an hour after this, and then I'll probably want to forget. But there you go. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Join in and all that good stuff, and keep up to date with the channel. Loads going on as usual, and do the typey clicky things. And until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.